And we can go ahead and go live. Okay, for people who are joining this live stream, this is one of a large stream of design reviews that we will be doing for version 12.3, which is approaching rapidly. All right, we had started looking at this previously. We're looking at sound and vision. Have we looked at this before? Is this our first? No, we'd looked at this previously, right?
This is second.
Okay. All right. So where are we starting today?
From the agenda, we went down to bitrate under editing around there, but we have to go back to video generator.
Okay.
If you recall last time, we talked about the start and end specification to generate specific frames. We would like to propose a second function alongside this that is called video frame generator. If you open that one as well, then we can discuss why.
So video frame generator is a friend of video frame list somehow.
Yes.
So the idea is simply to take, if you want, if you're frame oriented, let's say that you're constructing them and you want to be able to really control how your function is being called, then the video frame generator is the more natural one to use.
Okay, but basically what this is the analog of list play. Right. This is taking a function and it is doing a table.
Right. But there's a huge difference. Let's say that you have 2,000 of these to generate. If you have a list of 2,000 high resolution images in memory, which you will have, that's very hard to do.
I don't care. I mean, that's a different function name. I
don't care. That means it's impossible.
What is your point? What is your point, Roger? The way that it works is not, okay, it's going to do it out of core. That's what it should do, right? That's what you're saying.
No, list play takes a list of images.
Oh, no. What are you talking about? List play doesn't do anything. That's list animate. Okay. Roger, we're not doing this thing of inventing a whole new family of functions just because you don't like the way other functions work. We are going to make a bridge between them. We are not having a bunch of separate functions. We're doing these things. Right.
The big problem that ended up happening when you add step to video generator is that you effectively have two different frame rates.
I understand. So what we need to do is understand list animate. We need to understand how list animate merges with video frame generator. Okay, because those aren't compatible right now. List animate is doing the same thing, except that it is, what is it generating? Is it generating a video or is it generating something else? It's generating okay. All right. So, but the concept here is, okay, so this is taking an explicit list, whereas this is taking essentially a table construct, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm wondering if this should be called something like video frame table or something. That's not quite right.
I propose that as well. That seems reasonable to me.
Personally, I find these generator functions really confusing. And I don't even use it. The audio generator I found completely confusing. And I find myself using, play instead of the audio generator. So let's take a look at why I find the audio generator confusing. Okay.
I think the main reason is that we put the function usage, which is the one that you would gravitate naturally towards, last in the documentation. That might have been a mistake.
By the way, I've reported this about 8 times. This business with this weird flowing of auto completion here, that needs to be fixed. Does somebody know that needs to be fixed, or do I need to go re-emphasize it? Scott, I think
I'm
that
not
will
sure
be.
if it's reported, but I'll make
Okay,
sure.
make sure you report it and make sure that it's in. If nothing else, it's in the next user assistance meeting. Okay, I just don't understand this at all. I mean,
So
I think this design is awful. Okay, frankly. Go ahead. Go on. What were you going to say?
So the justification of that is to provide people coming from synthesis-oriented audio backgrounds some shortcuts. Instead of having to explicitly write a function, they could just say, I want a sinusoidal oscillator or a square oscillator or whatever.
I know.
In retrospect, as I said, that model can easily be a function.
That's the second example.
And as I said, it probably was a mistake to document that as something in the notes, in the details of options, rather than something very explicit.
But it's wrong. Yeah, it's wrong. You can't do that. Yeah, right. You shouldn't do that. So I think what we should do here is change this. Not even. You know, what we really have here. Yes, I think that's right. I think what needs to happen is the default needs to be a function. What is this like? What other kind of thing do we have like this? Because, you know, something like plot or play, for that matter, I mean, the relationship between this and play is incomprehensible, right? Because that's what play would do, right? Mm-hmm. And that, to me, makes perfect sense. Now, why is this a function? You see what I'm saying? Why is this thing? Why isn't it not the case that play generates audio objects, first of all?
I mean, okay, yes, that is something you can add easily, and you can do already by saying audio of the output of that. But yes,
yeah, but that's not right.
That tight connection of how the old sound and new audio should connect hasn't happened yet. I've said that repeatedly. I think the right time to do that is when we have more symbolic sound as well.
All right, but we can fix this right now. We could make play generate an audio object, couldn't we?
Definitely. Yes. If you and users are happy with the backwards incompatibility, sure.
Why is there backwards incompatibility?
Because then the object that comes back is not a sound object, it's an audio object.
I hate this. This was a sloppy piece of design, guys. Really sloppy. That's not.
I don't think it's sloppy. Audio generator is a little bit too low level. I think that there is room for higher levels.
Look, this function is basically the same as this function. It just has some named models in it, which are useful.
As well as the processes and time series and so forth. But yeah, the function case of it is the same.
Well, but I think those are wrong too. I don't think that's. You see, it's just wrong. If you have a time series, it's an explicit. Well, how to think about this?
No, time series is not uniformly sampled. Cannot assume that.
Well, but what this is doing is, just like play takes a function, it samples it at particular values. It uses that to generate the sound amplitude, right? That's what this is doing as well, right?
Mm-hmm. I think play as well normalizes, right, Carlo? There was some weird
intrinsic with the sound object, not with play specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fine. So there's some issues with that. I mean, that's the audio, what is it? Play range or something, analogous to plot range. I mean, that stuff is all 30 years old.
Yep.
Built in 1989. Thank goodness we built it then. I didn't wait for 30 years to do it. I do not like these cases where you try and overrun, where you try and just have a new generation of functions. It does not work. It will eventually break. So look, this audio generator thing, we need to integrate it with play.
I mean, can we agree here that we change play to return audio?
Yes, although probably not instantly because I'm worried about incompatibility issues. But that will be the goal, yes. But then what I think we should do, see, my question is, would it make sense to allow the
But see, we have a whole, okay. The intent is for audio generator to take a whole filter graph and things. So that model will get a whole lot more sophisticated over time.
Okay, but I don't, I okay. So like you can have a digital filter along with these, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
A filter graph can have more generators inside of it. You can have, you know, you can have another signal that modulates another signal. That's usually how you get much
I
more
understand.
complex.
I understand. So it's like a neural net, like that kind of architecture, which,
It's a
by the
DAG.
way,
It's a DAG. Yeah.
yeah, right. But by the way, we are going away from that architecture and towards something more procedural.
Sort of, but that's only really for a generated distribution, right?
Okay, I don't think this is. Look, I think what we need to do, that in terms of how this, I just don't think this function is the right function.
I think it's too low. I've said so all along. Okay, I think it's too low level. It's just not directly usable the way it's configured.
Right. Well, so let's not repeat the mistake with video. Okay, I mean, we're going to need to separately come back and design this audio thing. And I think my belief is, you know, I don't know, maybe there's an audio generator or something. That's really confusing, but I don't know what it is. I don't know. You know, I can imagine, I mean, play is a very nice, simple function that's very easy to understand.
Can we change it over to use audio and we have it?
Yes, but not today because I don't think we know what consequences it has.
Fine.
Right? But yes.
Okay, but then you have it. Then we don't need to talk more about play because you have it.
No, that's not correct. We need to move all these kinds of things into play and out of here.
Oh,
right?
Really?
Yes, because we don't want this. This is unusable. So we need to figure out how we make it more usable. So for example, I think that having a audio, to me, there's this notion of an audio generator function, right? Which is something like a triangle wave. And I would like to be able to play a triangle wave between this time and then that time to that time and so on, right? The thing is, this is sort of a backwards way to do it, because what should have happened is this shouldn't be something where we stuff them into a general audio generator function. I mean, oh boy, this is such a mess. You know, what we want is something where I would have thought, I mean, I never like these things here this way. Oh, how's the right way to do this?
You can potentially just undocument these named models, because you can get everything. You can just put sign of 1000 hash, although that's a pure function.
No, but look, getting a triangle wave is useful. I just think this is a grotesque way to do it. And I'm asking myself the question, why is there not a function that simply, there's a sorted wave function.
There is a, triangle wave as well.
So what on earth are we doing here? What are we doing? What is this?
Again, the named ones are just shortcuts with some predefined frequencies that make sense for audio.
What about pulse?
We don't.
Okay, so we need that. But we have square wave, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think this is very much the wrong design. You know, okay, anyway, we'll come back to this. Okay, can you guys take a look at this and at merging this into play and then play giving audio?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that having it be able to play a random process is nice. if that, I mean, so if we say something like random walk process here, and define the process, and then I say 6 or something. No, what, how do I get the actual
Random variate.
Random function.
Okay, so I have to say random function, and then what do I do?
For how long? What's that other thing there? Got that.
Okay, so what is that doing? So then what I should be able to do.
No, that should have generated something. 0 to 6 or something. Yeah, might want it a little bit longer.
What is this? What is this? This is not a time series. What is it?
It's temporal data.
What does that mean?
It means it's temporal data. It means it has a time component and it has a value component. It can store multiple paths. This is the foundation for time series. Time series are temporal data.
I know, I don't like that.
I know you don't like that, but this can represent multiple. If you want 10 of, often you need a whole ensemble of these. If you're going to represent in data what the random process represents, you need an ensemble.
But what is the difference? So if I'm going to play this, I just want one instance, don't I? I'm not
fine.
I mean, if I unless I'm going
unless you're doing statistics of it.
No. If I'm playing it, I just want one of it.
So you don't do statistics of it. You're just playing it.
Okay, so
and you just specify default is just one.
So I should say audio generator of this. Is that correct?
I think just the random walk process. You don't need.
Yeah, I know. It's a mess. It's wrong because here you've got the actual function you're giving. See what I'm saying?
But not for how long. That's infinitely long.
That is not. That is just the shape of the function. It's not an explicit function at all.
That sine function doesn't say for how long it lasts.
Oh yeah, but then okay. So here we're saying by default. Okay, so for here instead of giving 0 to 10, which I had to give there, I just give 10 for some reason. Does it start at 0? Or does it start at 1?
The time always starts at 0.
But if I gave 0 to 10 here, it would fail.
Yes. Only the duration is specified as the second argument.
But for some reason, random function, it has a 2-argument form there.
I see exactly the problem we're trying to solve for video generator and video frame generator that you're trying to solve here. Sometimes you really want to specify the function parameter range. Sometimes you want to specify the duration.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go through what we've got here. Okay. So the thing that we want, one thing we want is something which has a function that generates video frames. What is the other thing you might want is in addition to generating video frames, you're taking something where you are sampling every so often something. Is that correct? I mean, one thing is I'm going to tell you what the sample points are. Is that right?
Yes.
But I'm going to tell you 2 things. I'm going to tell you what time that sample is taken at and what the sample is. Or am I telling you frame by frame by frame what I'm supposed to give?
That is frame by frame by frame.
Okay.
Like table, you specify what each element of the table is.
Okay. And in the other case, I'm saying I've got this thing and it's up to the video system itself to decide where to sample it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And in the case of, so in play, for example, it's up to play to decide where to sample. Right?
Yes, we just give it a range, not the exact points to sample based on the default sample rate.
In the audio case, what is the analog? I mean, list play is the thing that gives you, right? So if I say list play, sine, whatever it is, T01 10 to the minus, 0.001, like this.
I don't think so. I think you just give it samples. So if you say list play of table of sign.
Right. That's what we want. Yes, sorry. So I want this basically, but
Right.
I'm not giving it a time basis. Right, I'm not giving it the time base for this. I'm just saying here, if I were to give this,
and that's somewhat reasonable for audio, but it's not very reasonable for audio either, if you're going to do something of any length.
I have no idea what this just did.
What did you do?
I put T comma this.
I think you created a 1000 channel sound.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, fine.
Of length 2
Okay.
samples.
Okay, all right, that was goofy. Okay, but so in the video case, what you're saying is one thing is I'm generating frames. The other thing is I've got this thing that is going to give me the state of the video, and then the generator is going to pick, 30 frames a second out of that. Is that correct?
Yes, that seems correct.
And in the first case where I'm giving frame information, okay, there's a third case. The third case is it's a kind of stop motion animation where I'm telling you at this second I've got this, at this second I've got this, whatever, where I'm giving you the time value and where I've got, the time and the instantaneous frame. And then you're going to either interpolate between those or just do stop motion type stuff. Is that right?
We don't have that, but that could be sort of a variant of manipulate.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Where you have a finite number of parameters and then you're interpolating those parameters.
I didn't understand that.
So if you say, like stop motion, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say that you have 10 parameters in a manipulate. And for each set of parameter values, you get a 2D graphic, let's say. Now, if you say, here is what it is here, then you have another snapshot of parameter values.
Yeah,
here.
but why are you talking about manipulate? I understand it's analogous, but you're not suggesting we actually use manipulate for that.
No, something very similar in design.
Okay, I understand. Yes,
but where you tell sort of how those different parameters.
I agree with you. Yes, I agree with you. Manipulate has a step.
Mm-hmm.
It has a dx. But
the step, but
no, Roger, it's not correct. It's not correct. What you said is not correct.
No, I was just correcting what you were saying.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
What I'm saying is there's a thing in which what we would have is a time series of video, a time series of frames. That's another case, right? A time series of frames.
Yeah, so I have a whole family of these generators. So one thing is that it could be a slideshow. Okay, because it probably doesn't make sense to interpolate between frames. You see,
in that case, it doesn't. Right. So
but the slideshow and possibly transitions makes a lot of sense. It's a common case.
I'm sorry, without transitions or with transitions?
Well, either way, both with or without.
Okay, so
how is that different from list of frames? List of frames is uniform list of frames. Okay.
Well, the list of full
you could tell when the frames show up.
Yeah.
List of frames with, well, that's the time series of frames.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And you could even have video segments in there. It could be static frames and then a video,
I see. Mixed frames and video. So that is analogous to what we have with sound and sound note, right? Where that has a way of placing the time for a particular sound note and so on, right? Remember that?
Yep.
So do we have a similar thing for video and audio? So when you have audios, how do they get placed? If you have an audio and then you want another audio, so you say hello, and then you've got then you want to say there, and that the there wants to come, 500 milliseconds later. How do you do that?
So audio is kind of similar to how you place images, right? You trim and you pad and you crop and you join.
Okay, so it doesn't have like graphics. It doesn't have sort of a position me in this
No.
place.
No.
Which we
It's
probably
just
want.
one piece audio.
No, but it's like a list. I mean, it has the same kind of behavior as a list, where to position things in a list, you just have to put more list elements to get it there.
Yes.
So an alternative is the sort of floating positioning like we have in graphics, right? Or like we have in sound. I mean, what we do with sound notes is similar to what we do with graphics and with insets and so on, right?
I think so. I'm not sure if we want to complicate audio. That's where I say I think sound is a great container for all of these more flexible ways of combining
I agree. So
and
what you're
defining
saying,
things.
right? So what we're saying is that sound should be able to contain audio objects, where you are specifying with sound, like graphics, you're specifying kind of the symbolic level thing, which could contain lumps that are like rasters, like an inset raster, for example. Similarly, I mean, we already have that, right? We have what is it called? A sampled sound object, right?
Yep.
Sampled sound list, yep.
Sampled sound list should presumably go away and just be replaced by audio. Is that correct?
Yeah, we could do that.
I think that's what we should do. We should plan to deprecate that and replace it with audio. Okay, it's served well for 30 years. We can easily provide a transition, but we do not need to continue to enhance that particular thing. Okay, so that's sampled sound list, and that's the way that we think about it. So for video, we do not have the outer container. So sound is the outer container for audio. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
we don't have a similar outer container for video.
Right. Well, you're right. Maybe we should get a symbolic outer container that would provide for editing and other things. But we can still build functions that produce, even if we didn't have that outer container, one can still build functions that takes a similar sort of input specifications and produce a video.
Yes, I understand. But the video, I mean, where essentially what we're doing is to produce the equivalent of rasterized, of sampled sound. We're producing an every frame video. We don't have a symbolic representation of the slideshow.
That's right.
Correct.
Right. So what we should have probably is the symbolic representation of the slideshow. So what we need is what would be, if audio is to sound, video is to movie, probably. Is that right? It's not quite right.
I don't think so.
Well, okay. Audio is to sound as video is to blank.
And I'm not aware of a format that does that, except possibly Flash had something along those lines.
I think probably if we dig in, the interactive tools for video editing allow for some internal specific storage of the project.
Yeah.
Ethan is commenting video data like image data. No, this is the other way around. This is making it more symbolic. So this is taking a lump of video, which is essentially a raster, where every frame, it's a full, dense list of frames. And then we want to be able to place that dense list of frames at this moment, at that moment, at another moment. Now, unfortunately, whereas with sound, we can perfectly well have superposition and we have chords. There is no obvious way to make a chord with video. Is there?
Well, there's overlays.
Yeah, but it's pretty weird. But I think with video editing, I mean, I guess people do that with video editing, right? They have layers.
Yep.
All right, so we need a name for the outer wrapper. We don't know what it is. Movie is a possible related name. Okay, so for these inner things, what you're saying right now is that we need something which is the equivalent of play for a video. No, the equivalent of this is the thing which will generate, which will go from which has a function that generates a video frame list. Correct?
So this works exactly like table. That's just a normal expression.
I know. Yeah.
Not a function.
I know. I realize that. So, which means it's working like play.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Except, well, actually, it isn't working like play because it's. Well, wait a minute. Is it? Oh, gosh,
It is
I'm
working
so
exactly like
confused.
play, yeah.
No, it isn't, because play goes from 0 to 1, and it is responsible for sampling in that range.
That's right.
Right.
This one
So-
is also responsible for sampling, because you're not going to generate a frame unless it's in that iterator.
Okay,
That
let me
iterator
understand. There are
is the
two different
complete spec.
possibilities. Okay, so one thing would be, I mean, you know, this concept of a slideshow, I don't know if we want to have that actual name, but okay, so what would the slideshow be? So a slideshow, I mean, here's a possibility. We could have a slideshow video, and that what that does is you give it a list of images, and it returns a video. That seems like not a completely stupid thing to have. And we could decorate that by turning this into a time series or some junior time series, which has, you know, times, and then we could have transitions and all kinds of things like that.
That was the idea, basically. That's one of the generators, yes.
Yeah. Currently, that is in video generator, released last release 12.2.
Okay, except nobody will ever find it.
No, that's not a practical version of that.
Right. I mean, this is a totally bizarre, complicated, messy thing. So I think this seems like a good idea. Slideshow video. It's pretty easy to understand what it is. David is suggesting flipbook. Yeah, you know, we had a flipbook capability in version 1 only 33 years ago. But it didn't generate videos. It was a thing that allowed you to print out a flipbook. I think I still even have some of those. We had some molecular visualizations in flipbooks. Okay, so anyway, slideshow video seems like a winning thing. Now, the other case is, okay. Video produces this comment from Gecko here about, but this, what I had in mind for this is the default for this would be a 1 second default, e.g. 1 second per slide. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Right. So that's not, here's a list of frames I'm going to make. I've got, okay, so the other, that's one case, is the slow shut slideshow, right? Okay, so the second case is, and there's no function here, it's just a list. You've already got pre-made the list, and the point is to generate a video from a list of images. I mean, we could also call it images video.
But like images itself, it doesn't have to be images, presumably. So it could be.
I see. It could be graphics or something.
Right.
Yeah. So this is a very useful function. This is a good thing to have.
This was very much on our list.
Okay,
it's not
fine.
there, right?
Okay, so slideshow video becomes one thing. Okay, so then the other one would be, and I hate to, I mean, you know, this is too weird, but the other one is essentially, this is too weird because that's assuming too much. But we understand what this is. No, you see, that's not right. Okay, so another function would be, this would be the full speed video by default, full speed. Whoops, full speed video. So this one, the default is some known, you know, slideshow rate. This one would be, this is the raw list of frames, or is that simply video itself? What happens if I say video of a list of frames?
That's not, that we have discussed a couple of times. It's not supported. Export currently can do that. You can export the list of images, get a file, and then say video of that
That's
file.
silly. Why don't we just do this? Why don't we just have video of the list of images? Just work.
Carlo, we discussed this a couple of times. I think the reasons we avoided that was that then we had to add options such as frame rate as a very natural thing to specify. And in all other cases where we say video of a file, those properties are already intrinsic in the file.
All right, okay, but we need a way to get, and this seems natural. I mean, look, we could do, no. Well, we could do a default frame rate here. I mean, we do have a frame rate option, right? We do have a frame rate option. What is that an option to?
Well, video generator is one.
Okay, so then let's just have it be an option to video.
But then, as I said, if you pass video a file, which is
then it already has it.
It already has it. Yep.
I mean, you might want to resample it at a different frame rate, and that would be a way to do it.
Well, then you have to transcode the whole video, though, and I'm not sure if just the specification of a frame rate option should invoke a complete transcoding of
I don't
the video
know. That's a separate issue, right? That's a separate issue. But in this case, video of a list of images with a frame rate could just do this flipbook type video. Seems like the natural way to do it. And it should have a default frame rate. I don't think that's going to be a terribly popular thing to do. Okay, I think Slideshow is going to be more popular. Okay,
then can we not add this yet? I'll make a note of it.
Yeah, well, you can certainly achieve this with the Slideshow video. But if we're going to call it Slideshow video, it has an implication of a slow video, if you understand what I'm saying.
I do.
But I like the idea of having some of these named types of videos.
Yeah, we have discussed it a lot as well. Roger also thinks video generator, still video frame generator are lower level functions. And
they're functions I don't care about, because I think they're so hard to understand, it doesn't matter. We should figure out what we actually want to do, and then we'll figure out what low level function will support it. I think they're hacky, not general enough, and incomprehensible. Do I need to add any further adjectives? What's that going?
My argument is then, what is your opinion on the table, right? Video frame generator is syntactically exactly the same. This is why I'm kind of... So video generator, I agree. That is, yes. Video frame generator, however, we try to have it much closer to what table is.
I understand. So we may want that function, but that name is a loser.
Yeah, okay. That is a very fair objection. It could be video frame table.
Okay, so let's think about what that should be, because I mean, by the way, there are all kinds of interesting things one could imagine with a Slideshow video, like, for example, annotating with audio, right? For example, one thing you might want to do is have an audio and have the slide play, slide be up there for the time that the audio is speaking. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Where am I going? I need to go here. Where is my section for this? Do I have one for video? Yes. Okay. So, we got a number of comments on the live stream, which I think, I just want to look at these for a second. Comment from Ethan, please add the ability to skip to specific times in the play GUI for
sound. I think he's saying that for the sound GUI.
Do we have it for this one?
Yes, the position slider next to the play button allows you to jump forward.
I see. I
think that's what he's asking for.
Okay, well, I think that the sound, it's a very reasonable thing, and the sound play thing should be unified with this GUI, insofar as it's staying.
Yep.
Okay, that's that one. All right. Nick is saying, cool to generate videos just by applying some animation effects to graphics.
Yes, that's another family of several of those families we've also talked about.
And he's suggesting it for the summer school, and it's a good idea, and it should be added to the list of student projects. Thank you for the suggestion. Hold on. Before I forget this, I'm going to add it. Let's see. Right. And hold on 1 second, just before I forget, since I'm not really confident. Who is doing notes and things in this meeting?
I am.
Okay. Okay. Ethan is saying really needs scrubbing for audio play. What, we have that, don't we? No, we don't. This doesn't. This scrubbing is like for the vinyl record where you can pull it back and hear more stuff, right? Is that right, or am I wrong?
I'm not sure.
Not what you're talking about? You move this, and as you move the slider, it is still continuously playing from wherever the slider gets to.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, and we don't have it.
We should have it.
I'll make a note.
Right.
Is it really a high priority for us to have it?
Not particularly, no.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting thing to have. I think it's a useful thing to have. Okay. So slideshow, frame show. There's questions about in-memory stuff, which is not going to work, I think. I mean, we agree in-memory is not going to work. Ethan is commenting the kernel crashes when attempting to accumulate high-res frames for video in memory. Yeah, look, the in-memory case is just not a winner. But that's presumably your video frame generator is not accumulating in memory.
No, nothing is in memory unless you try to parallelize it. Then it does little batches in memory and then writes it down.
Okay, so it's doing the right thing. Is basically the point.
Yes.
Jimmy is commenting here: options frames per image, frames per second. Default being image per second. Frames per image. I see.
For your slideshow video, I think.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. Frames per image. Yeah, that is a slightly tricky thing, right? Because that is correct. That's the way to think about it. So, I mean, I would say that the obvious thing to do is to have a DT there as the second argument. And to use...
On the other hand, was thinking something like T1 image 1, T2 image 2 specification.
Absolutely, you should also be able to do that. But the default should be something like this. But then I would say that the other possibility would be that you could have T1, like a list plot, T1 image 1, T2 image 2.
Exactly.
And it's effectively a time series of images.
It can be a time series of images as well. And I think also you should be able to have audio, which defines a time, obviously, image 1, audio image 2. And that way it'll be, and this is our amazing, whatever it is.
So that's a little different. That means durations then.
Well, that's what these would be as well. This would be durations. You don't want to have an absolute time.
Right?
No, you do not want absolute times.
Okay.
Those are DT1, DT2. You want to say, I want this slide up for 1 second. I want that slide up for 2 seconds.
Okay, so it definitely is not time series.
No, it's definitely not.
Well, okay, but then the other case would be, I would say, slideshow video of a time series where it knows it's a time series and it knows that those are absolute time settings. Okay, I admit this is different from list plot here.
Yes.
But this is still, I think, the right thing to do,
I
unless
think so too. I think it makes it modular. You can easily
Yeah.
slot something else in.
right.
Yeah.
I think this is a very useful thing, honestly. I think
The DT in the second argument, I'm not sure of. In general, I agree. This is useful. Details of the design we can work out.
well, I mean, then the other possibility would be, but see, remember, you're going to have a frame rate here, but the
Yes.
frame rate has nothing to do with the rate of slides. I mean, there will be a slide rate, but that's different, right? That's the DT there.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess the question is, what do you do when that conflicts with the explicit DT1, DT2, etc. specifications?
I don't know.
The first
You
argument,
pick one
yeah.
or the other. You probably pick the explicit. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually, no. The obvious thing to do is to pick the bank switch one, because that will then overwrite those. Right? That will be a thing you might want to do. Somebody might have given you one of these things with a bunch of DT1s, DT2s, and you might say, I don't want that. I just want them all at 1 second. I'm telling you, it's not going to be obvious what that number should be, because not everybody is going to want 1 second, or even, I don't even think 1 second is right. I don't know what the default is that people use, probably half a second or something.
Not sure. Really depends on the content as well as
Depends on many
context,
things, right?
On many things.
Yeah. But this, I think, is
It's fantastic. You can do like 7,000 slideshows in an hour. Slides in an hour.
if what?
Half a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's the kind of talk I like to see. Okay. So let's come back then to the video frame generator case. Okay, so that case is a little bit of a different. Okay, so this is case number 1, slideshow video. Another case is the full speed video. And then the other case is okay, I've got a possible idea. Frame table video. And so then what that would be is your function, and then your
Probably shouldn't be T because it's just
no, it isn't
literally.
T, it's just N or I or whatever.
I think what we have in video frame generator is exactly what you want.
Yep.
That's just a table syntax.
Fine. What do you think of frame table video? We got a family basically where it's blah 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 video, which means make a video from some kind of source.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it's understandable. Do we have video as a second argument of things yet? No. Good. I think this is a winning idea. Okay, so now what other functionality does okay, so that's video frame generator. And this is, so it is, this is a full rate video, correct?
Yes.
Or could I put in something which turns this into a slideshow with a DT?
No, that is a full frame video. It's like saying, like your first case of video of list of images, if that was just a symbolic table specification.
So, this would be a possibility. Frame table video and frame list video.
So the one issue that I have with this frame list video and the slideshow one is that they require to have in memory already all of the images, which in some contexts can be an issue.
Well, then allow it to be files. I mean, allow this thing to take files. Right? I mean, why not just have something where those things there can be file of blah blah blah. Anyway, we have or a dynamic image, for example. Why not dynamic image? Right. Now, I mean, just so I understand, if these images are all different sizes, different, pixel sizes, this will conform those images, correct?
At
Yes.
the moment, only if you do specify an explicit raster size. But we can.
I think
the
it should.
behavior.
I think it should change that. I think by default it should probably use the first image.
Okay.
And,
yep.
and do it that way.
That's we can easily.
That's
switch to that.
reasonable. And currently we always image resize, which means stretching in whatever direction. We are down in the agenda. There is a frame fitting option that potentially we can add to these functions.
I think that needs to happen. Yeah, but I think, okay, listen, I'm liking these functions. Slideshow video, it's pretty easy to understand what that means. Frame table video, it's, you know, it's a thing. Frame list video, I think that's fairly easy to understand.
However, frame list video is just slideshow video with a DT that is 1/, sample rate, right?
That is correct. That's correct. But I think it's useful.
I don't think they should be
same as-
merged. They should definitely not be merged, because slideshow you want to evolve in a different direction with transitions and all kinds of things, and you
Right.
really don't want that for frameless video ever.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But frameless video, if you wanted something there, you might want. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I'm still unconvinced. This is also exactly the same as video of list of images that you have 3 lines above.
I know if we did that, we could, but then we could avoid doing that and just have frameless video be the thing. But what other functionality does video frame? Okay, video frame generator is then the same here as frame table video, right?
Yes.
But video generator is what? What
That
is video?
one combines the play version of all of these with the single image list of image case. Look at the second table in the details. Generate a second of a single image or a list of images or an image function.
Okay, I'm totally confused by this. Just totally confused. I'm just totally confused by this. Okay, there's a plot. What the heck is it doing? It's sampling that plot.
30 times from 0 to 1.
I just think this is crazy. I mean, because the fact that it's 1 second, I think is weird. I think that default is fine for demos, but I think it's useless for reality. You know, I think it would be like having play have a default of 1 second, which would also be crazy. You know, play, I mean, look, play is an easy to understand, you know, thing. And this is the analog of play, right? Except that it has a function here. Correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, in some sense, this is like frame function video. It's not a very good name. Where that would be the kind of the concept. Where instead of it being a table, so this is analogous to animate, right?
Yes.
Because animate takes an expression. So let's take, I don't know, something like rotate I don't know how this works. If I do that, okay, so animate is not, do I need the 0.1 there or not? No, I don't. So it's choosing the sampling, right? Correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the only difference, so what you're proposing is a function which does this, basically. Brilliant. What's that all about?
That's prototype build. I don't know. But animate, producing, and manipulate should be. Oh, wow. Oh, that might be the progress indicator.
It's the progress indicator, yes.
Okay.
Bug in the progress indicator. Okay, so let's play this and see whether we got what we wanted. Okay, so it has that crazy, why is that all that wiggling going on? And why does it generate? Do we really want this showing the actual? I see. So really what we're doing here is we want something that's like animation video, right? And if we said that, we would say, you know, that what it would look like is just something like this. So it's the analog of animate, except that it doesn't give you a slider and so on. It returns a video.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a not totally terrible design. So there'd be a frameless video. Go ahead.
One question: those two are second and third argument in the second one, T010. Are those start and end times of the real time in the end product of the video, or are those arbitrary numbers that are just used to be passed to the expression, and then the actual times of the frames are determined on?
Okay, what we did with play is those are the absolute times.
Okay, so there is no place for a step specification in this.
Well, there is. Yes,
There
is. You just say comma, you know, however, one
okay.
30th of a second or something.
But then the frame rate option, it becomes unnecessary, is what you're saying.
Oh, I don't know if the frame rate becomes unnecessary. I mean, you might want to resample somehow. I mean, that's a separate issue. What the step size is and what the frame rate is, I think, are separate issues.
Okay, but these are all real times of the output video. It's not.
I think so. That worked. I mean, for 30 years, that's worked really well with play. It's pretty easy to understand, and it's pretty easy. You know, if you want something which is, I don't know, 100 times a second or something, you just put it in.
What happens with play if I do T from 10 to 20? Does it give silence for 10 seconds then?
Let's find out.
To 20, yeah. Okay.
No, it doesn't. Okay, it starts at the beginning, which is.
So it translates that whole thing back in time to 0.
Yes, it does. Not completely crazy. Look, it does the same as plot does. It is modeled directly after plot. Mm-hmm. Right? So if I say plot X 10 to 20, right, it still starts there. Okay, for animation video, clearly one needs, and I think you had a syntax for that here, the possibility of having an audio and a video. Right?
We do.
Our main conclusion has been that it's more useful to use video combined separately.
I suspect you're right. Because I think that this is a very weird case where what you would be doing here is you'd be having a play. I can imagine some scientific type places where this would be useful. Right, where you have I don't know, you're doing, you know, a bifurcation diagram and you want both the audio playing and a video of what's going on or something. I can imagine that.
But then you see that the step all of a sudden becomes very weird as well. You most of the time do not want to generate samples for audio video at the same rate.
I agree. So in that case, it's a mess.
Yeah.
Look, I think that the audio case here is weird.
Yep.
I mean, but I don't think that's the important thing. I think the important thing, and I think you're right, Roger, that combining, I think this is a good function that people can actually understand.
Yeah.
I think both of these, slideshow video and animation video, both sensible.
Yeah.
Frame table video. What's that?
I think I agree with you. I think that the list of very usable generators is longer than this. We had a longer list. So
fine, but then we should get those. Now, what are we doing with frame table video? Why is frame table video usefully different from, I see, animation video? That's a real number.
Mm-hmm. So people were very frame oriented. You and I think Sandos, if I remember last time.
Yeah.
Sandor, sorry. And it's legit. We talked about it, and we think it's kind of legit. Let's make something that makes that really clean and clear.
Okay, so the other possibility would be animation list. Yeah, I don't like that. I think frame list video is sensible. I think that's the inverse of video frame list, so to speak. Let's see. Is there buffering going on? I don't know. I mean, there's what kind of buffering? I mean, there's a whole complicated thing for playing stuff. Okay. Apparently people want to hear about geometry. Don't we have a geometry? One of these coming up pretty soon?
We do, yes.
It is on, if the calendar doesn't change. I don't see it for this week.
It's noon, 12 Central Time tomorrow. It's called discrete computation.
Okay.
Because it's geometry and graphics.
Okay, fine. Okay, we're running over the time for a different meeting, but okay. So I think we made really good progress here. So, but let's go back to what we're looking at over here, and we've still got quite a few things left to do here, right? How much of this stuff is probably pretty straightforward? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, nothing.
I want to
really
see the thread analysis for this. That's something I really care about.
I know. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to make it again this round.
Okay. Do we know the design?
Yes.
Do you have anything, even experimental?
No.
Okay. What does that mean? Label matrices, what does that mean?
Like the segmentation, the semantic segmentation result highlighted different color on the image. If you open highlight image, there is an example. You have a typo
spelling. You have
scroll all the way down.
So you're saying basically, if I have a cat and a dog in the picture, one of them is supposed to be highlighted one color and one the other color. Is that the type of thing?
Not as a bounding box, but if you have the addition is if you have a label matrix, an integer label matrix that says all of my label ones are the cat or the cats, label 2 are the other object. Typically,
a label matrix as in the
pixel segmentation.
Right. So okay. So that's a highlight region of image. So if I had a list of images here, I see not a list of images. How do you go from a list of images to a label matrix?
That we don't have, but from that binary image, morphological components will give you a label matrix, and then that could be fed into highlight image. And we have a large collection of segmentations as well as neural nets in the repo.
Do we want to, like we have NetModel, how do you specify a segmentation? I mean, in other words, is there an easy way if I want to take some random image? You know, there's something goofy about the fact that that's a capital letter and these ones aren't. I bet that's my fault from having specified this at 2 different times. Scott, could you take that to relevant people and ask yet again? I think we're going to want to make this consistent and probably all capitals.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. But sorry, what was your... I was asking about segmentation. So let's say I take this image here.
And you wanted to manually segment it or something?
I think I need to be, whatever. So what and I don't understand your label matrix. So is that the new?
Yep.
That's a function.
And if because highlight image takes a function, runs the function on the image, and the result gets highlighted. If you scroll past that and get to application
Well, that's
example,
a new wait, that was the thing.
the new is in the first table in the details. The label matrix is also supported as a new type of region of interest.
Okay.
And yep, that tentative example in application is a very typical highlighting that you see from semantic segmentation algorithms.
Labeled mask. How does that work? I mean, so the mask, what is that? I don't understand what that is.
Test is the input image, what you see in the background. Labeled of mask, labels. Mask is the label matrix, and labels is the list that says sky, traffic light, truck, and so forth.
But does labeled usually do that, of taking a multi-label? I don't think
so.
labeled does that,
Yeah.
does it? I've never used it that way. So you're saying if I say labeled of, I mean, I thought if I just did labeled of A, 1, 2, 3, I just get the list 1, 2, 3 as a label. What is that labeled? I don't understand the multi-labeled thing.
I think we are already using that syntax in plot, for instance, plot and list plot. You can have labeled as a wrapper around your function or the data set that you're plotting.
Yeah, right. No, I understand that. So if I say something like labeled 1, 3, 7, 9, A, B, C, D. No, we don't.
Yeah.
Nope, we don't. No, we don't. Look at this.
Yes, because the whole list 1, 3, 7, 9 is one data set, and you're labeling that one data set with one label, A, B, C, D.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying if I have 2 data sets, then I don't get any labels at all.
Can you get rid of D? Would that work if the length?
Well, if that's what's going on, then that's a bug. Nope, it's a bug. Or it doesn't do what you think. I think this is a bug because I think I've wanted this. I think I've thought that worked before. So Scott, that's the thing for Brett, please. Scott, well, I'll do it myself then.
Sorry, I was screen grabbing and typing. Sure.
Do you have it?
Yes.
Okay. This workflow is clearly way too complicated.
But that's just getting the label matrix, right? The addition of highlight image is pretty straightforward.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is you're saying this is a segmentation mechanism, and I'm saying, yes, this is a common way of doing segmentation, but we need a better workflow for doing that. Right?
Yeah, obviously, one thing there is that the test image, just for the sake of saving memory in that notebook, Julio made that a byte array, which is, I think, a JPEG.
Okay, that's just wrong. So I mean
that will get fixed in the final version.
Okay,
but the rest of it, we need a list of labels. We are evaluating a network, and we get a label matrix back.
I understand that. But I think we need a function called image segment or something that does the analog instead of image cases, right? Does the thing that produces the object that would by default display like this, because this is a very common type of thing, to have a labeled set of segmentation, labeled set of objects or we need something that, how would you otherwise do image segmentation with a network?
With a network or without a network?
With a network.
Isn't this an example of that? If you open the first block.
I know, but I'm saying it's way too complicated.
Yep. Well.
Hold on. Hence my point. Right? That's just way, way, way too complicated. What is all this stuff anyway?
Looks like image surgery.
Net surgery.
Yeah, net surgery.
Right. So my point is, what we want are net models that are segmentation models. And then we want them to plug in some easy way. Okay. The real question is this. If I have a network and it is segmenting an image, what is the canonical form of its output? We don't have that right now. We don't have a segmented image as a symbolic object.
No, label matrix is what we have worked with since version 7.
I know, and that's very low level because it doesn't allow you to have the labels in the label matrix. It just has 1, 2, 3s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm suggesting, given that this is a popular thing, is that we have some construct that is something like segmented image. Okay, so that then what you have is, if you have segmented image, which would display as something like this,
Mm-hmm.
then what would happen is that the net model of whatever it is, net model, you feed it an image, right, would return to you a segmented image, which would then immediately display.
Yep.
And that way, I don't know what access or functions you need for a segmented image, but that seems like the right thing, because segmented image would then take an image, potentially a label matrix, or various other formats here, label matrix, arrow labels or something, perhaps, or a label matrix and then labels that are that would be positional. Or you could say something like, the label matrix could have A, B, C, D in it, and that could be an association as the third argument. This seems like a useful construct to me.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree. At the same time, this might become very similar to image annotations down the road. So potentially this could be an annotated image with the label matrix. I agree that segmentation is a very commonly wanted task. So maybe we want to make this specific, but post 12.3, let us try to design annotations for everything and then come back to this as well. I made a note about this idea of segmented image.
Net encoder. To train that net. Should be a net encoder for segmentation. And then we should be able to train it, Ethan is saying. Ali is asking, you specifically, Shadi, for component measurements, can we extract the immediate neighbors of a label if they share a common boundary?
Yes, I think component measurements, we added something. Just checking.
Square that has 4 squares on its sides, separated by 1 pixel boundary. Can we find the neighbors of the central square? I see what you're asking. Okay. Well, okay, so look, I think we'll need a discussion about annotated image, and you might be right that annotated image is the right general wrapper rather than segmented image.
Mm-hmm.
But I think segmented image is an interesting concept in its own right.
I think it is. But think of a medical image. You don't typically segment the whole image. There's a piece that you home in on.
Well, so fine. So that's why the label matrix, I mean, that one way to do it is to have a label matrix. The other way to do it is presumably with bounding boxes.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, an alternative form would be some kind of bounding box.
Well, a region of interest, yeah.
Okay. ROI, arrow label, etc. Okay, let's see what else there's clearly a bunch of other things we need to go over. So this is going to take at least one more meeting, unfortunately. Because we're going to need to go through the frame fitting stuff and so on.
The bitrate option, you're fine with that? We're trying to merge more of the features into the master for the freeze.
Then you got to get another meeting on the books. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's a very strange name, bitrate. It seems too generic to me. What is it?
It's the number of bits per second stored for typically specified separately for audio and video. The lower the bit rate, smaller the file, but the poorer the quality as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's the right option name. If it's going to be, unless that option name is also going to be supported in, how do we do throttling in URL read? What is the name of the option for that? You know what I'm asking about?
I don't know.
But you see, you understand why that's
I do.
analogous.
Yep.
Huh. I was sure we had something here. There's some function which was I don't remember where it shows up. Maybe it hasn't been released yet. Who knows about that?
Fahim, maybe?
Fahim would be my first choice there.
Okay.
Hopeless. I mean, I don't know whether that's yeah, but anyway, that would be my concern. I understand the concept, but I think it has to be applied uniformly across a bunch of functions. And I think it's a little, if it can be, yeah. Conlon asks, what will this type of image segmentation return an ROI mask label matrix that could be applied to another image or channel?
I don't understand how the label matrix should be applied to another image.
Well, that you, for example, want to take out the things that are labeled 2 from the other image.
Oh, right. Yes, we can, from component measurement, we can say the location of, say, label 5, and then do image value at those positions. Pass it the shape or sparse array, whatever comes back. Then we can probe another image with that.
Okay, so Ali is commenting that component measurements doesn't have this neighbors functionality, so we should look at that separately.
There is a series of, I just checked, there's a series of neighbors, neighbor counts, and so forth.
Yeah, but it's saying that it can give the number of connected neighbors, but not the neighbors themselves. He wants to know, and it's a kind of funky type of function, right? Because you're saying, what are the pixel positions of the neighbors of this region of interest, for example?
Neighbors. Neighbors is a property of component measurements.
Okay, fine.
Direct neighbors given as a set of labels.
Okay, fine. Okay, we should wrap here. We're going to need another one of these. Hopefully 1 hour will be sufficient.
Okay.
And if you can, try and get these like slideshow video and things as packagings of video of the now not surviving video, whatever it is.
Frame generator. Are we keeping video generator?
I don't want to.
Okay, we'll look into it with Carla.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Okay.
I think these other things are much more useful. I mean, you can keep it as experimental for another version if you want to, but it's going to go away.
Okay.
Okay, an audio generator needs an update as well, but that's a separate issue, which we're obviously not getting to for 12.3.